Hey everyone, welcome back to the Stoic Journey. Have you ever found yourself tangled in a web of emotions, wondering why someone who used to be the center of your world no longer seems to care? Why is the person you are continuously chasing isn't giving you the respect you deserve, as if you are a background character in their life story, only there to fill the gaps when it's convenient for them? It's like you're standing in a crowded room, shouting to be heard, but your voice is drowned out by the noise of their indifference. What if I told you that the most powerful move you can make isn't to chase them harder or try to prove your worth, but to simply ignore them and let your silence speak for you? Imagine the shock they'd feel when they realize that the person they thought would always be there is now ignoring them. It's like the noise they've been drowning in suddenly quiets, and for the first time, they're left alone with their thoughts, wondering what went wrong. They might not notice it immediately, but as you stop engaging, they'll start to feel the impact of your indifference. Your silence will be louder than any argument, and that's when the real change begins. As our wise gem, Sun Tzu, once hit the nail on the head, the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Ignoring someone who doesn't value you is exactly that, winning without a fight. It's not about engaging in a battle for their attention. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't something to be contested or debated. By choosing to step back and let your silence do the talking, you're showing that true power lies in knowing when to walk away. Now, folks, let's dive into why ignoring them is your only solution. We're not talking about playing games or being manipulative. This is about embracing your worth and understanding that sometimes the most powerful way to make someone realize your value is by withdrawing your attention. Today, we'll explore 9 Stoic steps on how to master the art of ignoring. These steps will show you why ignoring them isn't just a tactic. It's a profound act of self-respect and empowerment. Each step we'll cover today will reveal how your silence can shift the dynamics, turning the tables in a way that they never saw coming. But before we dive in, I have a challenge for you. If you're ready to step into your power and let your silence do the talking, drop a comment below with the phrase, "My silence is my power." This isn't just a statement, it's a declaration of your strength and your commitment to valuing yourself above all else. It's time to show them and yourself that you're not just pulling away, you're stepping up in a way that will leave a lasting impact. Ready, Stoic friends? Let's go. Now, before I reveal the steps, I need to share a story of my colleague with you. This story is the foundation of today's video, and the biggest proof that sometimes ignoring is the only solution. It's a story that will give you the strength and clarity you need to make the tough decisions ahead. So my friends, make sure to stick with me, because this is the story that's going to rewrite the narrative of how you see yourself and your relationships. Please be focused, because what I'm about to share could very well be the turning point in your journey. My colleague Sarah was in a relationship that to everyone else looked picture perfect, and at first it was just that, a dream come true. Her husband Max seemed like the ideal partner, loving, attentive, and supportive. But as time passed, Max started to show his real face. The man who once showered her with affection gradually became distant, cold, and manipulative. It started subtly with small comments that chipped away at her confidence. He'd criticized the way she dressed, the way she spoke, even the way she expressed her love for him. Max made Sarah feel like she was always doing something wrong, as if she could never live up to his expectations. What was once a relationship built on mutual respect and admiration turned into a nightmare, where Sarah felt more like a burden than a partner. Then, things took a darker turn. Sarah discovered she was pregnant, a moment that should have been filled with joy and excitement. But instead of the happiness she had hoped for, she was met with Max's cruel indifference. He accused her of trying to trap him, making her feel as if the life growing inside her was nothing more than a mistake, a burden he didn't want to bear. Rather than support her, Max began to distance himself even more, leaving Sarah to navigate the challenges of her pregnancy alone. As the pregnancy progressed, Sarah's health began to suffer. She was diagnosed with severe complications that required her to be on bed rest, a time when she needed Max the most. But instead of stepping up, he would leave her alone for hours, even days, only to return home with harsh words and more emotional abuse. He made her feel like her illness was an inconvenience, like she was nothing more than dead weight holding him back from the life he wanted to live. One night, as she lay in bed overwhelmed by pain and despair, Sarah realized the horrifying truth. The man she had once loved with all her heart had never truly loved her back. Max's manipulations, his emotional cruelty, and his complete disregard for her well-being made it clear that no amount of love or effort on her part could change him. In that moment, Sarah made the hardest decision of her life. She decided to ignore him, not out of anger or spite, but as an act of self-preservation. She stopped trying to please him, stopped seeking his validation, and focused solely on herself and her unborn child. She stopped engaging in his mind games, and for the first time, she found a sense of peace within herself. At first, Max didn't notice. He assumed it was just another one of her phases, another attempt to get his attention. But as the days turned into weeks and her silence grew louder, the reality began to sink in. The woman who had once been at his beck and call was no longer there. He was left with the emptiness of his own making, realizing too late the treasure he had treated like trash. Sarah's story doesn't end with a dramatic apology or reconciliation. It ends with her finding strength she never knew she had. And the best part? She gave birth to a beautiful daughter, a new life that became her source of joy and empowerment. Ignoring him wasn't just the solution, it was her salvation. It was the only way to reclaim her dignity, her self-respect, and her life. She didn't need his validation anymore. She found it within herself and her child. Now, friends, this is not just a story. This is the foundation of our video today, and we are going to dive deep into it. I will give you proof from this very story, the 9 proofs we're going to discuss today, that will make it crystal clear why ignoring these narcissists is the only solution you have. And when you do ignore them, where you see yourself standing is truly inspiring. At least it was for me after Sarah told me her story, and I'm sure it will be for you too. But here's the thing. It wasn't just the act of ignoring that worked the magic here. It was the further steps she took that truly made the difference. Each of these steps proves that ignoring them is the only solution you have. So do you want to know what those steps are? Do you want to see how ignoring them can transform your life in ways you never imagined? Then go ahead, quickly like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. Step 1. Recognize your worth. Recognize your worth. So folks, the first step to ignoring them is to recognize your worth. Now, how does recognizing your worth prove that ignoring them is the only solution you have? And how did Sarah use this step in her own life? Let's dive in. Recognizing your worth is not just a nice idea. It's the foundation of your self-respect and the key to breaking free from toxic relationships. When you recognize your worth, you stop allowing others to define your value. This realization is the first and most crucial proof that ignoring them is the right path. When Sarah found herself in a relationship where her efforts and love were constantly dismissed, she initially tried everything to make Max see her value. But the more she tried, the more he took her for granted, using her kindness as a tool to manipulate and control her. So how does recognizing your worth prove that ignoring them is the only solution? When Sarah finally understood her worth, she stopped trying to prove herself to Max. She realized that no matter what she did, it would never be enough for someone who didn't truly care. This moment of clarity was powerful because it shifted the dynamic. She wasn't chasing his approval anymore. Instead, she chose to focus on herself and her well-being. By ignoring his manipulative tactics, Sarah took the first step in reclaiming her power. She stopped engaging in the endless cycle of arguments and emotional manipulation, and instead turned her energy inward. Let's look at how you might be in a similar situation. Perhaps you're constantly trying to please your partner, bending over backward to make them happy, even when your needs are being ignored. Maybe you're always the one to apologize, to fix things, to keep the peace, even when it's not your fault. You might find yourself giving and giving, hoping that one day they'll appreciate you, but all you get in return is indifference or worse, criticism. Recognizing your worth means understanding that your value doesn't come from how much you do for them. It comes from within, from the respect and love you show yourself. In Sarah's case, this realization was a game changer. She was no longer willing to tolerate being treated like she didn't matter. By recognizing her worth, she was able to see that the only way to truly value herself was to ignore the person who couldn't see her value. This wasn't about playing hard to get. It was about refusing to let someone else's lack of appreciation dictate her self-esteem. When you start to recognize your worth, you begin to see that the only way to protect that worth is by removing yourself from situations that diminish it. Ignoring them becomes not just a strategy, but a necessity. You're no longer willing to engage with someone who doesn't value you because you know that your time, energy, and love are too precious to waste on someone who can't see them for what they are. Sarah's journey didn't end with just recognizing her worth. It was the beginning of a new chapter where she put herself first. She began to invest in her own happiness and well-being, something she hadn't done in years. And the more she focused on herself, the more she realized just how much she had been giving up in that toxic relationship. Ignoring Max wasn't just about cutting him off. It was about making room for her own growth and healing. So, as you think about your own situation, ask yourself, how much of your worth are you sacrificing by staying engaged with someone who doesn't appreciate you? Recognizing your worth is the first step, and it's a step that proves ignoring them is the only solution you have. When you know your value, you refuse to let anyone treat you like you're less than you are. But recognizing your worth is just the beginning. It sets the stage for the next step, where you learn to set boundaries that protect your newfound sense of self. Sarah's story shows us that once you know your worth, the next step is to ensure that others respect it. We'll explore this further in the next proof, so stick with me as we dive deeper into how setting boundaries solidifies your path to empowerment. Step 2. Set boundaries. After recognizing your worth, the next crucial step in ignoring them and reclaiming your life is to set boundaries. Boundaries are the invisible lines you draw to protect your well-being, your peace of mind, and your self-respect. They define what you will and will not accept from others, making it clear that your value is not up for negotiation. In Sarah's journey, after she recognized her worth, she knew she had to take action to protect it. Max had always pushed her boundaries, manipulating her into doing things that made her uncomfortable, ignoring her needs, and consistently belittling her efforts. Sarah's realization of her worth made her see that if she didn't establish clear boundaries, Max would continue to walk all over her. She understood that boundaries weren't just about keeping him out, but about keeping herself safe and respected. Setting boundaries is essential because it's a direct expression of self-respect. When you don't set boundaries, you're essentially giving others permission to treat you however they like. In Sarah's case, Max had grown accustomed to having full control over the relationship. He knew that no matter how poorly he treated her, Sarah would always come back, always try to make things right. But once Sarah started setting boundaries, the dynamic began to shift. She was no longer willing to be his emotional punching bag. For instance, Sarah made it clear that she would no longer tolerate his late-night disappearances, his constant criticism, and his emotional neglect. When he tried to push those boundaries, she didn't engage in the usual arguments or plead with him to change. Instead, she held firm, refusing to let him back into her life unless he showed genuine respect for her and the boundaries she had set. This wasn't about playing games or manipulating him. It was about protecting herself from further harm. Setting boundaries isn't just about saying no to others. It's about saying yes to yourself. It's about prioritizing your own needs and making sure that those around you understand and respect them. When Sarah set her boundaries, she wasn't just keeping Max at a distance. She was making space for her own healing and growth. She was giving herself permission to focus on her health, her pregnancy, and her future without the constant stress and turmoil that Max brought into her life. But setting boundaries isn't always easy. It requires courage, especially when you're dealing with someone who's used to having their way. Max didn't like the new Sarah, who was no longer willing to bend to his will, and he tried to push back. But by holding firm, Sarah demonstrated that she was serious about her self-worth, and that she wouldn't allow anyone to cross those lines again. In your own life, setting boundaries might mean having difficult conversations, distancing yourself from toxic people, or even cutting ties with those who refuse to respect your limits. It's about creating a safe space where you can thrive without the fear of being hurt or manipulated. Setting boundaries is the second step in proving that ignoring them is not just a solution, but a necessity for your well-being. Once you've recognized your worth and set these boundaries, you're well on your way to reclaiming your life. The next step, which we'll explore, is how focusing on self-care solidifies these boundaries and strengthens your resolve to stay true to yourself. So stick with me as we dive deeper into how nurturing yourself becomes your greatest act of defiance against those who don't respect your value. Step 3. Focus on self-care. Once you've recognized your worth and set boundaries to protect it, the next crucial step in ignoring them and reclaiming your life is to focus on self-care. Self-care is more than just pampering yourself. It's about nurturing your physical, emotional, and mental well-being. It's about putting yourself first, which is essential for healing and growth, especially after you've been in a toxic relationship. For Sarah, focusing on self-care was a turning point in her journey. After setting boundaries with Max, she realized that she needed to redirect the energy she had been spending on him back onto herself. She had spent so much time trying to fix the relationship, trying to make him see her worth, that she had neglected her own needs. But once she began to focus on self-care, everything started to change. Self-care starts with the basics, taking care of your physical health. For Sarah, this meant prioritizing her health during her pregnancy. She began to eat better, exercise when she could, and ensure she was getting enough rest. By focusing on her physical well-being, she started to feel stronger and more in control. This physical strength also translated into emotional resilience. When you take care of your body, you're sending a message to yourself that you are worth the effort, that your health and well-being are important. But self-care isn't just about the physical aspect. Emotional and mental self-care are equally vital. Sarah started to practice mindfulness, spending time each day reflecting on her thoughts and emotions. She began journaling, which helped her process the pain and confusion she had felt during her relationship with Max. Through this process, she was able to release the negative emotions that had been weighing her down and replace them with a sense of peace and clarity. In your own life, focusing on self-care might mean finding activities that bring you joy and fulfillment, whether it's taking long walks, reading, practicing yoga, or simply taking time to relax. These activities help you reconnect with yourself. For Sarah, self-care also meant reconnecting with her passions. She had always loved painting but had given it up during her relationship because Max didn't see the value in it. By picking up her brushes again, she rediscovered a part of herself that had been lost, and it brought her immense joy and satisfaction. Self-care is also about surrounding yourself with positivity. Sarah made a conscious effort to distance herself from negativity and to spend time with people who uplifted her. She reached out to friends and family who supported her and made her feel valued. This positive environment was crucial in helping her maintain her boundaries and stay focused on her well-being. Focusing on self-care doesn't just heal you, it empowers you. It reinforces the boundaries you've set and strengthens your resolve to stay away from toxic influences. When you prioritize your own needs, you're less likely to tolerate behavior that undermines your self-worth. You begin to see the benefits of ignoring those who don't respect you, and this clarity makes it easier to continue on your path of growth and healing. Sarah's commitment to self-care allowed her to not only recover from the emotional wounds inflicted by Max, but also to thrive. She became a stronger, more confident version of herself, someone who knew her worth and refused to settle for less. As you continue to focus on self-care, you'll notice that the power others once held over you begins to fade. You're building a life that's centered around your own happiness and fulfillment, and that's something no one can take away from you. But self-care isn't the end of the journey. It's a foundation that supports the next step. As you become more grounded in your self-care practices, the need to eliminate contact with those who drain your energy becomes clear. In the next step, we'll explore how eliminating contact is the natural progression of focusing on self-care, helping you to protect your newfound peace and strength. So stay with me as we delve into why cutting ties is sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself. Step 4. Eliminate contact. After focusing on self-care and building up your strength, the next essential step in ignoring them and reclaiming your life is to eliminate contact. This step is crucial because it allows you to fully detach from the toxic influence that has been draining your energy and undermining your self-worth. Eliminating contact is about creating a safe space for yourself where you can heal without the constant reminder of the pain they caused. For Sarah, eliminating contact with Max was one of the hardest but most necessary decisions she had to make. After recognizing her worth, setting boundaries, and focusing on her own well-being, she realized that as long as Max remained in her life, she would never be able to fully move on. His presence, even in small doses, was a constant source of stress and negativity. Every interaction with him threatened to undo all the progress she had made. Eliminating contact isn't just about avoiding them physically, it's about cutting off all forms of communication. This means no calls, no texts, no social media interactions, and no just checking in messages. It's about removing the temptation to re-engage with someone who has repeatedly shown that they do not have your best interests at heart. For Sarah, this meant blocking Max's number and unfollowing him on social media. It was a way to protect herself from falling back into the cycle of manipulation and emotional turmoil that he had created in her own life. Eliminating contact might seem daunting, especially if you've been in a relationship with this person for a long time. You might worry about how they'll react or feel guilty about cutting them off. But remember, this isn't about them. It's about you. It's about creating a space where you can heal and grow without their influence. Eliminating contact is a powerful statement of self-respect. It's you saying, "I deserve better than this." It's about refusing to allow someone who doesn't value you to continue taking up space in your life. When you eliminate contact, you give yourself the freedom to move forward without the constant pull of the past. For Sarah, eliminating contact was the final step in breaking free from Max's control. It allowed her to fully immerse herself in her new life, one where she was no longer defined by his treatment of her. She was able to focus entirely on her own healing, and as a result, she became stronger and more resilient than ever before. As you eliminate contact, you'll find that the peace and clarity you've been seeking start to take root in your life. This step is not about running away. It's about creating the necessary distance to protect your well-being. Next, we'll explore how surrounding yourself with supportive people can reinforce your decision to cut ties and keep you on the path to recovery. Stick with me as we delve into the power of a strong support system in your journey to reclaiming your life. Step 5. Surround yourself with support. Step 5. Surround yourself with support. After you've eliminated contact with the toxic person in your life, the next vital step is to surround yourself with a strong support system. This step is crucial because even though you've taken significant strides in reclaiming your life, the journey ahead can be challenging. Having people around you who uplift and support you is essential for maintaining your progress and ensuring you don't fall back into old patterns. For Sarah, surrounding herself with support was the key to staying strong after she cut ties with Max. She reached out to friends and family who genuinely cared about her well-being, people who had her back and wanted to see her thrive. These were the people who reminded her of her worth when she doubted herself and encouraged her to keep moving forward, even when the road was tough. When you're trying to break free from a toxic relationship, it's easy to feel isolated and alone. That's why it's so important to connect with others who can provide you with the emotional and practical support you need. This might mean leaning on close friends, seeking out a support group, or even working with a therapist who can help you navigate the complexities of your emotions. Supportive people not only offer a shoulder to lean on, but they also help reinforce the boundaries you've set. They remind you why you made the decision to eliminate contact in the first place and help you stay committed to your path of healing. In Sarah's case, having a support system was like having a safety net that caught her during moments of weakness and helped her rise stronger each time. As you surround yourself with support, you'll find that your resolve to maintain your boundaries and focus on your self-care becomes even stronger. This network of caring individuals becomes your anchor, helping you stay grounded as you continue on your journey of growth and empowerment. In the next step, we'll explore how focusing on personal growth can further solidify your newfound strength and ensure that you continue moving forward. Stick with me as we dive into how embracing personal development can transform your life. Step 6. Focus on personal growth. With a strong support system in place, the next step in your journey is to focus on personal growth. This step is about more than just moving on. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, independent of the toxic relationship that once held you back. Personal growth is the path to reclaiming your identity, rediscovering your passions, and setting new goals that align with the person you want to become. For Sarah, focusing on personal growth was a transformative experience. After cutting ties with Max and surrounding herself with supportive people, she realized she had a golden opportunity to rediscover who she was outside of that relationship. She began to explore new interests and hobbies that she had neglected for years. Painting, something she had always loved but had given up because Max didn't see its value, became a source of joy and fulfillment once again. Focusing on personal growth isn't just about picking up old hobbies. It's about setting new goals for yourself. Sarah started to pursue her career ambitions with renewed energy, taking on challenges that she had once been too afraid to tackle. She also invested time in her personal development by reading, taking courses, and engaging in activities that expanded her mind and spirit. Each step forward was a reminder that her life was her own and that she had the power to shape it according to her desires and values. As you focus on personal growth, you'll find that the need for validation from others begins to fade. Your confidence will grow, and with it, a sense of fulfillment that no one can take away from you. This is where you truly start to thrive, not just survive. Next, we'll explore the importance of practicing detachment, how letting go emotionally can free you to live a life of peace and authenticity. Stay with me as we delve into the power of detachment in your journey toward complete independence and self-empowerment. Step 7. Practice detachment. As you focus on personal growth and begin to reclaim your life, the next step is to practice detachment. Detachment is about emotionally freeing yourself from the grip that the toxic relationship once had on you. It's not about shutting down your emotions, but about creating a healthy distance that allows you to see things clearly without being clouded by old wounds or lingering attachments. For Sarah, practicing detachment was a crucial step in her journey. Even after she had cut off contact with Max and started focusing on her own growth, she found herself occasionally thinking about him, wondering what he was doing, or feeling pangs of guilt and sadness. But Sarah realized that to truly heal and move forward, she needed to let go of these emotional ties. Detachment didn't mean she stopped caring. It meant she stopped allowing those emotions to control her actions and decisions. Detachment is about accepting that you cannot control or change someone else, only yourself. It's about acknowledging that the relationship is over and that your future does not depend on their presence or approval. Sarah began practicing mindfulness, learning to observe her thoughts and emotions without getting swept away by them. This practice helped her to remain calm and centered even when memories of Max surfaced. She no longer reacted impulsively or let her thoughts spiral into negative emotions. Instead, she observed them, accepted them, and let them pass. As you practice detachment, you'll find that the hold they once had over you weakens. You become more focused on the present moment, on what you can do now to create a better future for yourself. Detachment allows you to live your life with clarity and purpose. free from the emotional chains that once bound you. Next, we'll explore the power of silence, how choosing not to engage can be your strongest tool in maintaining your peace and reinforcing your self-worth. Stick with me as we dive into how silence speaks volumes in your journey toward empowerment and healing. Step 8. Embrace the power of silence. As you continue to practice detachment, the next step in your journey is to embrace the power of silence. Silence in this context is more than just the absence of words. It's a deliberate choice to refrain from engaging in unnecessary conflict, drama, or emotional manipulation. It's about preserving your peace and protecting your energy by not giving in to the urge to respond to provocations or to try to explain yourself to someone who doesn't deserve your attention. For Sarah, embracing silence became one of the most empowering decisions she made. After years of trying to reason with Max, arguing and defending herself against his constant criticisms, she realized that nothing she said would ever be enough to change his behavior or mindset. He thrived on conflict, using every word she said as fuel for further manipulation. The more she tried to engage, the more power she unknowingly handed over to him. So she made the conscious decision to stop responding, to stop feeding into the toxic cycle. Silence is powerful because it forces the other person to sit with their own thoughts and actions. When Sarah stopped engaging with Max, he was left without the usual back and forth that he had come to rely on to maintain control over her. Suddenly, he had no way to manipulate her, no way to twist her words or provoke a reaction. The silence spoke louder than any argument ever could. It sent a clear message that she was no longer willing to participate in the dysfunctional dynamic he had created in her own life. Embracing silence can be a transformative step. It's a way of taking back your power, of refusing to let someone else dictate your emotional state. Silence allows you to step back, observe the situation with clarity, and decide on your terms how you want to move forward. It's about maintaining your dignity and self-respect, even when the other person is trying to pull you into the mud. But silence isn't just about refusing to speak. It's also about creating space for yourself to heal and grow. When you stop responding to negativity, you create room for positivity to flourish. You give yourself the chance to focus on what truly matters: your well-being, your goals, your happiness. Silence becomes a shield that protects you from further harm, allowing you to nurture the parts of yourself that have been neglected. As Sarah embraced the power of silence, she found a deep sense of peace that she hadn't experienced in years. The noise of the toxic relationship faded away, leaving her with a calm, clear mind. She was able to focus on her future, on the things that brought her joy, without the constant distraction of Max's drama. Silence is not a sign of weakness. It's a powerful statement of strength. It shows that you value your peace and self-worth more than the chaos someone else might bring into your life. As you embrace the power of silence, you'll find that you're no longer pulled into battles that don't serve you. You're free to live your life on your own terms, with a sense of calm and clarity that nothing can shake. Next, we'll explore the final step in this journey: reclaiming your life. We'll look at how all of these steps come together to help you create a future that is truly your own, free from the shadows of the past. Stay with me as we wrap up this powerful transformation process. Step 9. Reclaim your life. The final step in your journey to ignoring them and reclaiming your power is, fittingly, to reclaim your life. After you've recognized your worth, set boundaries, focused on self-care, eliminated contact, surrounded yourself with support, focused on personal growth, practiced detachment, and embraced the power of silence, You're now in a position to take full ownership of your life. This step is about more than just moving on. It's about creating a life that reflects your true self, a life that is no longer dictated by someone else's actions or expectations. For Sarah, reclaiming her life was the culmination of all the hard work she had done. She had spent years trying to mold herself into what Max wanted, sacrificing her own dreams and desires in the process. But now, with the toxic relationship behind her and her newfound sense of self, she was ready to take back control. Reclaiming her life meant rediscovering who she was before Max's influence and redefining who she wanted to be moving forward. One of the first steps Sarah took in reclaiming her life was to revisit her passions and interests that had been neglected. She threw herself back into painting, an art form that had always brought her joy and fulfillment. This wasn't just about picking up a hobby, it was about reconnecting with a part of herself that had been lost. Each stroke of the brush was a declaration of her independence, a reminder that she was in charge of her own happiness. But reclaiming your life isn't just about rediscovering old passions. It's about setting new goals and pursuing new opportunities. Sarah began to set ambitious goals for her career, goals that she had once put on hold because Max didn't see the value in them. She started taking classes, seeking out new challenges, and pushing herself to achieve things she had never thought possible. Every new accomplishment was a testament to her strength and resilience, proof that she was capable of far more than she had ever believed. Reclaiming your life also involves taking control of your narrative. For so long, Sarah's story had been defined by her relationship with Max, by his actions, his words, his perception of her. But now, she was rewriting that story. She was no longer the woman who had been broken by a toxic relationship. She was a survivor, a fighter, someone who had taken back her power and created a life of her own making. This new narrative was empowering because it placed Sarah in the driver's seat of her own life, no longer at the mercy of someone else's whims. Reclaiming your life also means embracing the future with confidence and optimism. For Sarah, this meant letting go of the past, not just in words, but in her heart and mind. She had forgiven herself for the mistakes she had made, and recognized that those mistakes did not define her. The future was full of endless possibilities, and she was ready to explore them all. As you reclaim your life, you'll find that the pain and struggles you experienced in the past will start to fade away, replaced by a renewed sense of hope, purpose, and empowerment. You're no longer the person who was held back by fear, doubt, or the influence of someone toxic. You're someone who is free to live authentically and pursue a life that aligns with your true values and desires. Reclaiming your life is a powerful and transformative process that allows you to step fully into your own power. It's about taking back what was always yours, your happiness, your peace, your freedom. And as you do so, you'll find that the life you create is richer, more meaningful, and more fulfilling than anything you could have imagined when you were still caught in the grip of that toxic relationship.